Hi, I'm George Pearson, and this is training for CorelDRAW. These are just a few examples from some of my video tutorials. Let's just get this stuff out of the way here. Now, when you're working along with my project, you can download the actual project file. You'll find a link right there inside of the description. Let's go ahead and take a look at the description, and you'll find a link in there to download this file. And of course, make sure that you like the video, share the video with your friends, and also subscribe. Okay, let's go ahead now and get on to the video tutorial. In this CorelDRAW 18 or X8 video, we'll be doing a logo here with this circular type effect. Okay, it's pretty straightforward. Let's go ahead and get this thing started. Let me just close that one down, and we'll click on a new document right there, the little plus sign. I'll leave all these at the default settings. I have mine set for landscape mode, but aside from that, it's all default settings. 11 by 8.5, and I have 300 DPI. Choose OK, and there we go. Now the first thing we need to have is a circle in the middle in here, just a circular shape. So let's go over here to our circles, the ellipse tool, and I'll hold down the Shift and the Control key and draw from the center someplace. Doesn't have to be exact. Just kind of like that, just a big ellipse. Now that we have this, we can get this sized exactly. Now the size I want for this is 7.8 inches. So let's go up here and make sure that the lock is on. If you don't see a square around it, click on that so you see a square. So our ratio is locked. And then I'll change this to 7.8, hit the Enter key, and there we go, 7.8 inches. Let's now get this centered on the page exactly. And that's Object, Align and Distribute, Center to Page. There we go. Okay, so there's our first basic circle. We'll be building circles going from the outside and moving in towards the inside. Now let's put an outline on this. We'll work with our outline. Right now it's just a little thin black outline. You can see it up there. So I'll change over here to the Object Properties, and this, make sure you're on the Outline button right there, and change the outline to 8 point. There's a little bit of a thickness in here, and then we're going to be changing the color up to kind of a medium blue. I'll just type in a hexadecimal code. I set up a code for all of these things to make it really easy to follow. So this one's 006AB0. There you go, 006AB0. Hit the Enter key, and there's that kind of medium blue outline for that. Okay, now the inside, we want to do a fill on this. And let's grab our fill tool. So go over here and grab the fill, interactive fill tool, and the fill button right there. There's our basic fill. Now let's change this fill over here to the rectangular fountain fill. There we go. And I want to change the colors. We're going to be going to white. So there's our white is already there. And let's change this outside one here. Click on that outside one. And I want to change that one to a medium blue. So let's just grab a little drop down right here. And again, I have a hexadecimal number for us to make it easy. And we'll set this one to 003154. There you go, 003154. Hit the Enter key, and there's our blue color. Now let's grab the slider control here, and see as you move that back and forth, it adjusts that amount. I want to have this mostly white, so let's move the slider further towards the blue here, about a third of the way or up from the blue, 2/3 from the white, right in there someplace. It gives us kind of just a nice gradient in there. And we can then pull this out just a little bit to kind of soften things up a touch. That's pretty good. Bring it back just a little bit. So something about like that, just kind of a nice subtle gradient in there, kind of a hot spot. We're only going to be seeing this outside bit out here. So that's why I have a bit of dark to a bit of light to a bit of dark. Moved it by accident. Let me just reverse that. There we go. Okay, so there is our outer circle all set up. We're now going to duplicate this and make a second circle on top of this. So that's Edit and Duplicate, or the Control plus the D key, and I'll be using that keyboard shortcut for the rest of this video, Control plus D. Okay, so I'll do it right now, Control D. That makes a duplicate. We can see that if we go to the Object Manager over here, we now have two ellipses right there, and we're on the top one. So we can now change the settings for the top ellipse. And I want to have this one set at 7 inches instead of 7.8. So I'll just edit this right up there, hit the Enter key, and there we go. That gives me a duplicate a little bit smaller, and that gives us a little thin outline in the outside out there. And we'll adjust our values when we get this whole thing set up. Now we can change the setting in here. Let's change go to Object Properties. Let's change the outline. I'll put this back to 0.5 and put that back to black, which is all the way down there, bottom left-hand corner. There's a nice little thin outline on that. Now on the fill in here, we're going to be doing a fountain fill again, and just a little different coloration on that. Let's go over to our fill. There's the fill. We'll leave it at the same rectangular fill. I just want to change the coloration in here. So let's change this side. And that's our color right down here. And I'll bring this down. There we go. And we'll change our hexadecimal number to 0275C7. So 0275C7, hit the Enter key, and that just changes our coloration in there. So that's our second circle. Everything's looking good. Let's go back to our first circle out here, and I'm going to be pulling the slider control further over on this. I just want to lighten up that gradient now that I have something to compare it against. So we're lightening that up just by moving the control over here further towards the dark side. That just brings in more light. Okay, that looks good. Back to our second one here, back to our second circle. We're now going to make another copy of this one. So again, go to your Object Manager, make sure you're on the top ellipse up there, and then Control D. When I do this, you'll see over here a third ellipse will pop up. So Control D, there's our third ellipse. We're on that ellipse. Let's now change the size of this ellipse, and I want this one at 4 inches. Hit 4 and Enter. There we go. That's the ellipse we'll be using as the basis for our text. We'll build our text off of that ellipse. Now we're ready for our text. So let's go over here to the Type tool. There we go. And I'll leave it at the defaults just for a moment. Let's go ahead and just click up here someplace. There we go. And let's put in our text. Mask Players Theater. There we go. Triple click to select that, and let's now set this up for the appropriate size and color and all that kind of fun stuff. So the one I used here is Broadway. This is a standard typeface, and I use 65 points. So I'll just type in 65 and Enter key. There's the 65 point. There we go. So Mask Players Theater, and I want to have this in white, so I'll just click on the white. Hard to see right now, but it's there. It's in white. That's fine. And then back up to text and fit text to path and fit it to that path right there. So let's click on that, on the edge of that path, and there it is. There's the text. Now we can adjust the position of this by moving this away from that line. And that's up here. When you have the text selected and it's curved, so here's our text orientation options. I'll leave those at the defaults. This first setting allows us to change the distance from the path. The second one allows us to rotate the text around if we need to rotate the text. We'll be looking at that in just a minute. So if you click on this, notice how the text begins to pull away from that shape. So it's pulled away at 0.45 inches, which is perfect, but it's also rotated around. So let's come in here. I'm going to just back up on the rotation here, like that, just so you can actually rotate this thing around. What I want here is 0 offset. So just type in a 0, and that puts it back at the very top. So there we go. But that allows you to rotate your text. We'll be using that in just a minute. Okay, so there's our text. That's our first line. We'll be doing a drop shadow later on, so don't worry about the drop shadow right now. Now I want to copy this text, make a duplicate of this text. Now click on the ellipse right above that text. You have the text and the ellipse selected. And then Control D, make a duplicate of that. So you should see a duplication there. Ellipse text, that's our first one. Here's our new one, ellipse and text. Okay, now let's rotate the text around. We've already seen how we can do that up here. I'm just going to click on this and just spin the text around until it's on the bottom. See how it's just kind of following around there? When we get it around a little ways, we're going to change what the text says and change its size as well and flip it around a little bit. Okay, so it's kind of rotated around enough to begin with. Go back to the text tool and then triple click on that to select that text. Let's now type in our new text, which is Alberta space CA. And let's keep on rotating that around. Just about there. Now I want to make this a little bit smaller than 65. Let's make this to 48 points. I'll type in 48, hit the enter key as it's smaller. Now I need to reverse this. It's going the wrong direction. I want to have it reading right side up, left to right. So we'll be using these two tools here, the mirror text horizontally. There we go. And the mirror text vertically. And that spins it around. So it's now reading correctly. Okay, now we need to adjust our distance from path again. So let's just pull that up until it kind of lines up over here properly, and then just keep on rotating some more. And we'll get that back around so it looks pretty nice. I think that's pretty well centered. A little more. There we go. So there is our bottom text, our top text and our bottom text. You can fine-tune these things just by clicking on your text and then coming in and fine-tuning your rotation here until it looks good. Now, notice how it's a little bit squeezed in here. When we did all our flipping and everything, it's a little bit squeezed. And I want to adjust that a bit. So we can adjust that by using our letter spacing adjustment. So right over here we have the text properties once that's up here. And on text properties we can adjust the word spacing and the letter spacing and language spacing. What I want is the letter spacing. So I'm just going to click on this and notice how the letters are getting further and further apart. And it's bringing it out just a little bit until it's a little bit easier to read. They're not quite so squeezed together. So that's just kind of adjusting the letter spacing in there. Looks nice, and that's about a 36% I think I just saw on that. Let's see, yeah, 37%. So there we are. Just kind of stretch that out. And I can bring it down just a little bit. It feels like it's not quite centered in here. So let's bring that down just a little bit more and rotate around just a little bit more, just kind of tweaking its position. And there we go. Okay, so there's the text is in place. Now we can come in and do a drop shadow on our text. We'll do the top one first. Let's go back to our object manager. There we go. Now notice if I click outside, and when I click on the text first, I get the ellipse and the text selected. Click on the text a second time and just the text is selected. That's what you want to have happening. So click on it twice, make sure just the text is selected. Or if you click like that and then click on the text, you get just the text selected. Okay, now I'm going to do a drop shadow. Over here, left-hand side, drop shadow tool. Click on that. Go up to the presets up here, and we'll be doing flat bottom to the right. And you can see there's the shadow way out there on that. So we're going to be now adjusting the positions on this one. First, I want to have my feathering offset here at 1. So we'll do that. Let's set the opacity to 81 so it's a lot darker. So 1 and 81, there we go. Now let's adjust our offsets on this. This is your vertical and horizontal offsets, and together these determine the positioning of the text. Now what you want to have on this one, on your top offset here, want to have this one at 0.062. Hit the enter key, kind of moves that over. And then the bottom one right here, we want to have this one at negative 0.68. And there we go. So that's exactly the right position for that text. Okay, let's click off of that. There's our drop shadow. Let's now come down to the lower text. Click on your lower text, and then click on the text a second time, and make sure that just the text is selected and not the ellipse. And we'll do the exact same thing down here. So back to the drop shadow tool, back up to the presets, flat bottom right. There we go. Let's set the feathering to 1, set the opacity here to 81, enter key, so that's our nice dark shadows. And we're now going to adjust our positioning again. So the top one, 0.062, and the bottom one is 0.068. And because we've changed the size, it'll be a little bit different on that. So let's now just, and you know what, I typed the wrong thing in there. Let me just try that again. So it's 0.068. There we go. And as I was saying, because we flip things around, the positioning is off by a little bit. It's above instead of below. So now we can come in here and just tweak these settings a little bit, like that, until it looks good. And that looks pretty good right in there. So just tweak those settings around. Okay, so that takes care of the text. Now the hard part's done. We'll now put in some interesting images in here. Now ignore that little bit of a thing over there. That's just an artifact of putting the text. If I scroll out and scroll back in again, that goes away, so don't worry about that. Okay, we're now going to be putting in our graphics in the middle side here. So click on your basic circle. We're going to be doing a new circle in there. And I'll actually just do it outside here. So let's grab a new ellipse, and I'll start over here and Control Shift. I'll pull that out. It's about like that. It doesn't have to be exact. Now I want this to be at 4 inches up here, so let's just type in 4, enter key. There's the exact size. Now the fill on this one, we want to set at a specific fill. So let's go over here to our object properties and fill, and we want a uniform fill right there. And down here on the hexadecimal number, I have this one set for 0275C7. There we are. Takes care of the fill. Let's now get this positioned right here, because since everything else is centered on the page, I can now just center this. It'll just drop it right on there. So Object, Align and Distribute, Center to Page. There it is. Okay, so far so good. We now have our 2 graphic images to place in here. So for these, go up here to Text and Insert Character. Make sure I have Insert Character selected. Now I already have mine open. As you can see, the little check mark over there. So that's right over here, Insert Character. Now in here, there are all kinds of fun characters. I have a couple of characters up here. Let me show you where I got those from. Click on the drop-down list in here, And if you scroll down towards the bottom of the list, if you're working on a Windows computer anyway, you're going to be finding a typeface called WebDings. Now these are what are called dingbat typefaces. They're typefaces with lots of images in them. There are tons of dingbat typefaces out there. You can get these things online for free. Just do a type, or just go to Google and type in dingbat font, and you'll get a lot of this stuff. So I'm using one here called WebDings. And if we scroll down a little bit, see there's all these different shapes in here. All of these can be used as graphic images. And there's one I want right there. So I'll just double click on that, and that brings it onto the page. Now I'll just pull this out until it gets a bit larger, and let's just position this in here. And just grabbing our little control handles. There we go. So that's positioned nicely. Object, align, distribute, center page. There we go. Now let's colorize this, make it a bit more interesting. Go back to our object properties. And as you'll see, this is text. It's not a graphic. So we're working in here with our text instead of with the graphics. So we have the outline width in here and outline color. We'll do that one first. Let's set the outline width to 3 point and click on the color. I suppose I was going to see that a bit better. There we go. Let's set the color right down here. 50A 3E6. 50A3E6. And that gives us kind of a light blue coloration in there. Okay, now we're going to fill this, the part that's black, we're going to fill that with a gradient, and that's up here. We're doing a fountain fill on that. There's our fountain fill. Now going over here to the right hand side, there's little 3 dots right there. This brings up the fill settings dialog box for this. So now we have this set. We can set our colors in here. We're going to be going to white on the right hand side. That's fine. Click on the left hand side. That's where it says black. Click on the drop down, and we'll be changing this. This is 4FC7FF. Hit the enter key. It's kind of a light blue to white. And then we want to come down here, and we're going to be doing a repeat and mirror right there. And choose OK. And let me just double check that fill. Let's go to our interactive fill tool here. There we go. I'm going to move the blue here into the middle. Just like that. So there's it's repeating the fill on this side. That was the repeat and mirror. And then moving the fill to the middle and white to the outside. That gives us our nice gradient in there. So there's that center section. That's all set to go. Okay, last piece to do is the masks on this. Now the masks are also put in as text. This is pretty quick and easy. We'll go back to the insert character. I have it still open up on the right hand side. There we go. Right there. Right hand side. Double click. Bring that in. Now this, I'm going to take this and pull it to the outside and stretch this up a bit like that. I'm doing this because I want to fill these with white without getting anything else involved in this. The easy way to do this is to use the Smart Fill. So over here to the Fill and the Smart Fill right there, Smart Fill tool. Fill options, we'll set this at white. Right now it's already white, that's fine. So our fill color is at white, that's good. Outline none, that's correct. So come inside of the face here, click on that, fills it with white. Come over here, click on this, fills that with white. Now when you use the Smart Fill, these become separate objects. So I'll now drag a marquee around all of those. And let's right click and group objects. Okay, now just drag it over here Notice how they're separate pieces now, but since we've grouped those, they'll stay together. And let's just size this up nicely. I want a bit of an overlap on the top and the bottom in there. Just like that. And there we go. There's our circular logo. Let's now increase our size just a bit. That's about as big as I can make it in here. So there it is. That's how to do the circular text, how to flip your text up and down, and a little bit of fun stuff in here with some of these dingbat fonts, using fonts for imagery as well. Okay, there it is. That's how to do a circular logo with circular text inside of CorelDRAW X8. Thank you for watching this special Photoshop photography project video. Don't forget to subscribe so that you will get first notice of new project videos in the future. Just click on this link right here where it says subscribe here. You can get all 12 project videos in this series along with 26 special videos demonstrating the tools and techniques that I used in these projects by clicking on this link right down here. And then thank you again for watching this